Lisa Ray, if I could ask you first, what effect does the current rules on pensions and inheritance have on cohabitants?
First of all, can I just introduce myself? I'm the General Secretary of the Civil Service Pensioners Alliance, and we are a founder member of Later Life Ambitions. This is a campaigning organisation that represents over 250,000 older people. And we want those older people to have fulfilling later lives where their contribution and their values respected. And we need the government to come up with the right sort of legal means for them to have that. So we very much hope that we can put across some useful points to you today to help with that. In pension rules, the position of cohabiting partners is not very clear. First of all, we were talking earlier about the common law marriage myth. There are a lot of people that think that just because they live with their partner that they're entitled to receive some sort of pension from them. Whenever we publish something in our magazine about pensions, we get quite a few inquiries from our members saying, well, you know, I cohabit with my partner, surely she's going to get something, and actually you have to tell them that no, they're not entitled to anything, because we're playing catch up here all the time with the older pension cases. So I think one of the things is that, first of all, cohabiting couples have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get access to a survivor pension. So they have to provide a lot more information on the death of their partner than they would do if they were married, or if in a civil partnership they would have to come up with a death certificate and then a certificate of marriage or civil partnership. But if you're cohabiting, there's lots of things that you have to provide. Now, in the civil service scheme, this is a partner's form, a dependent pension claim form, and 2 further pieces of evidence to show that you are financially dependent on one another, such as a joint mortgage, joint credit arrangements, joint bank account, council tax, etc. And none of these can be more than 6 months old. So it's no good going up to your filing cabinet and getting out some old documentation. That won't cut it. And other schemes ask very intrusive questions about your relationship to your partner who's deceased. So I was talking to one of my colleagues, and she unfortunately lost her partner, her husband actually, a year ago, and she was sorting out access to her widow's pension. And she said she came across the form that would have had to have been filled in by any partner, so somebody not in cohabitation. And that was a great long list of questions to answer at a time when you're in a very bad place because you just lost your partner. Answering questions like, who pays your mobile phone bill? And she said that, you know, would have devastated her if she'd had to answer that question at that time, going through grief, basically. So we think most pensioners are actually unaware of this requirement, and we think it's really unfair that people are put through so much more and have to jump through these hoops in order to get access to something that's been paid for by their deceased partner.
Thank you. Well, you've partly answered my next question, which was about sort of the evidence required before a cohabitant can claim. So if I can move on, Later Life Ambitions said that under some pension schemes, widows and widowers are no longer entitled to their deceased spouse's pension if they choose to remarry or cohabit. So I'd like to ask, what impact does that have on your members' lives?
It has a very big impact on our members' lives. In the civil service scheme, we've been running a campaign on this for quite some time, actually, because I can just explain what happens is if you have had a widow's or widower's pension, you've been married before, lost your partner, and you happen to meet somebody new and decide you would like to live with them, so you cohabit with them or marry them or enter a civil partnership, it means that you lose your independent widow's pension or widower's pension. Now, we think this is absolutely appalling, because what happens is, in effect, you're saying that the woman, it's mainly a woman usually, becomes the responsibility of their new partner. So they no longer have financial independence, their own income. they have to then become the responsibility of their new partner. This seems absolutely Victorian to me, almost, in the way, you know, that attitude is just ridiculous in this day and age. I've got, you know, case histories from some of our members, a woman who lost her husband in her late 50s. She didn't think she'd ever meet anybody and settle down again, but she did. She met a man and they had a couple of years together. He asked her to marry him, but she had to say no because she knew that she would lose her widow's pension, and his pension was not big enough in order to support both of them. So she said, look, I'm 74 now and I'm on my own. I had to say no to marriage in my early 60s and I really regret it. And she's just been left in a situation now where she's living on her own. We know loneliness is really bad for health outcomes. And, you know, it just really is unacceptable.
Can I ask on that then, what do you think the government could do to ensure that pensions are for life? How could we intervene to improve that situation?
I think that you could perhaps emphasise what I've said, that it's just unacceptable in this day and age that people should be expected to continue to live on their own, because some of these people are affected at an earlier age, so they could lose their husband or wife in their 40s, and who then expects them to continue living on their own? I think it would be very important to interfere and say that public sector pensions should pay pensions for life, because after all that pension has been paid for by the wife or husband that's been working. They've made provision for their partner or their wife or spouse to continue to receive a pension after they're gone.
Thank you. Graeme, I have a question for you as well. What conditions, if any, should be placed on a cohabitant's entitlement upon intestacy? So should the law in this area change?
Yeah, Resolution's view on that is that there was a proposal made by the Law Commission back in 2011, and in fact that included a draft bill, and under that draft bill, as I understand it, on intestacy, a former cohabitant who'd lived together with their deceased partner for 5 years would have a claim. And I believe it's 2 years if they had children together. So we support that proposal. We supported it at the time, and we were disappointed it wasn't enacted. And it would be relatively easy to enact it, we believe, as well.
Thank you. Lisa, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it would be really easy to put something in place, and I think it should be put in place. And why should people be treated differently if they're not married or in a civil partnership? It needs to be fair. We need to level up the playing field now.
Thank you, Chair.